Hey everybody, it's Prometheum5 here, coming at you today with another CollectionDX review of some third-party Transformer goodness. This is going to be the first in a series of reviews on TFC Toys' new combiner team for the Uranos project, I guess is what they're calling it, which is a modern update of the original G1 Aerialbots who combined to form Superion, who's totally awesome. So we're going to get right into it. I have a sad old bootleg G1 Superion that we'll use for comparison shots from time to time. He's one of the only combiners I actually had growing up, so I have kind of a fondness for him that I didn't necessarily have for somebody like, Menasar, who I never saw. But Superion's made of a bunch of airplanes, and he's rad, so seems like a good thing to update to me. So we're going to start here today with F-4 Phantom, aka Firebolt from the original G1 set. Nope, that's not right. Firebolt is his Japanese name. Sorry, I'm looking at Wikipedia here. Fireflight in America. That's a good name too, I guess. So he's an F-4 Phantom, which is kind of a weird American fighter jet. It saw service in Vietnam and kind of a sort of that mid-Cold War era. It's an interesting design that I always kind of liked, even though it gets kind of a bad rap for being fat and ugly, because it's sort of at the tail end of the classic jet design of the 50s and 60s, which are basically just engines with wings. Kind of, before the changeover to things, more modern-looking things like the F-14 and the F-15 and, all that, the very flat and squared off looking jets that we had, in the late 80s and the early 90s. But that's beside the point. I think the F-4 Phantom is a cool looking jet, and as you're going to see, TFC Toys has done an awesome job of making a cool looking jet into a really fun standalone figure that happens to be part of a combiner team. So I'm just going to kind of spin the jet around here. It's a really good looking, nice clean jet mode. They did a great job of capturing the lines of the Phantom. I mean, it's got sort of chunk in all the right places, and the wings are nice and sleek. It captures the dihedral on the wings and has actual landing gear. And there's a little bit of a kind of gap here. I can't quite get the skirt on the midsection of mine to sit flat, but I think it might have sat flat when I took it out of the box for the first time. It might be slightly warped or something. That's all right. I mean, everything locks together. This is a really, really solid jet toy. I mean, you could almost, if you had this kind of just in the back of your shelf with a bunch of jet toys, you could almost maybe sell it as, oh, look, it's a, cool airplane toy. But we know better. The underside, obviously there is a robot under there. Just not sure you can see that there. But, reasonably clean, looks pretty good. It has landing gear on the wings and a, working nose gear. And he has these drop tanks that come off, and they can actually go in either spot, but they can only go on the outer hard point if you put the landing gear down. So that's kind of annoying there. But, not like it fell off, so that's good. Like I said, I mean, fits together nice, looks good. It has an opening cockpit, which you gotta kind of get your fingernail under to get open. I mean, it has just, nice little detail touches that make it feel like a cool airplane toy in addition to being a cool robot toy. So here's a G1 Fireflight for comparison, and you can see they got all all the right colors in the right spots, and did a nice balance of making it look a little more convincing, but still maintaining the prominent colors and stuff. They kind of toned down the really gaudy blue and yellow, which is probably good, but he's still a bright red F-4 Phantom at the end of the day, which is silly and 80s like, so good on him. So we'll take this sad thing out of the way here. It'll be fun to watch as I use my bootleg Superion set for these reviews. Every time I touch them, something keeps breaking, so we'll see if there's anything left by the time we get to the last guy. So we are going to start with transformation to the combiner mode rather than the robot mode, just because it's sort of halfway between the jet and the robot. So to start, let's see, the easiest way to start. There's a lot of locking tabs and stuff to hold these guys together, which is cool because that means they are really solid, but makes them kind of awkward to show off the transformation just because there's so much going on. So the first thing we're going to do is untab the wings. They got a nice big tab in there. All the plastic and stuff feels really good. Even with all those little tabs and stuff, I don't think they're at risk of breaking. So we're going to fold these guys up. The arms kind of split apart along the middle to make the sides of the fuselage. So that's kind of cool. And then we're going to unclip the tail, fold this butt flap up. It's got the problem with the original Aerialbots is that they didn't really know what to do with the nose cones and the tails. So instead of, making them some kind of like leg kibble or anything, they made the fronts and backs of the jets into these backpacks. But to do that, they had to use these, kind of fiddly like boom arms and everything. And that's where a lot of the breakage on the G1 figures came from, just because these arms are pretty thin, like that. So that wasn't broken before. That's one more that is now, I guess. Like I said, these are just kind of coming apart as fast as I can mess around with them. But we will transform this guy into arm mode for completeness sake. And then never look at him again. So let's go back to those guys. But like I was trying to say, the boom arm on these guys is really nice looking plastic. It feels pretty solid. I mean, you can snap that guy over there and get it all hooked up. It doesn't seem like it's at all fragile. I mean, if you twisted it off to the side, it would probably break. But other than that, I think it's okay. And then we're gonna pull the legs down, but not all the way. And in the directions, they only pull the legs out like halfway for combiner mode. But I'll show you in a second. If you pull them down the whole way, all the way down, like for robot mode, you can actually get like a second elbow joint in there, which might look all right when we have the whole combined thing together. This is the transformation joint. It's got a really serious ratchet in there that you can hear. And that's important because this guy's going to weigh a lot at the end. These are pretty big figures. These flaps go down, and this goes down. And then we're almost there. The wings all tucked together. And he's going to go like this on the arm, and you actually spin him around to have the jet side up. One thing that, we'll talk about that now, one thing that people kind of complained about when this guy first came out was that the hips are really squeaky. They don't feel like they're going to break or anything, but they're pretty snug and they make a lot of noise. I saw a lot of people go crazy when they first came out, like oiling the legs or sanding down so they were really loose, and it didn't seem necessary to me. I mean, yes, it makes a bit of a noise, but I'd rather it made a noise and was nice and tight than to have it all floppy and screwed up. So here's the hand for Fireflight's arm mode, and it's pretty sweet. It's posable, all the fingers at 2 joints. The thumb's at a ball joint and has this other part here, and on the wrist turns. They've got kind of this common attachment system for the combiner parts with these little, not trapezoidal, but I guess there's 6 sides. It's a hexagon. I learned that in geometry. They got these hexagonal connection parts with pegs on them that, looking at the other limb guy that I have so far, seems like you might be able to do a little Scramble City action on these guys and switch around the arms and the legs. But I haven't tried that yet. So the combiner part fits into some slots on the bottom of the legs. And yes, it keeps squeaking, that's okay. And it all kind of snugs back together. And you just tuck the wings in. And then you can stick the drop tanks back on here, kind of like, laser pods or something. I don't know. Some kind of gun. And then here we have the arm mode, which I'll hold sideways because it's really long. I mean, as arms go, I guess that's pretty cool. It's kind of tough to, look at one piece of a combiner on its own and say, yeah, that's going to make a really cool arm or, a leg. But it seems like a neat arm to me. It'll have, because it uses the waist, it'll have, elbow motion that way. And elbow joint there. And like I said, you can actually pull it out and give him a lot of elbow motion if you want. And then, you know, like I said, the hand is all posable and does cool stuff. I like posable hands when they're well made, and this one seems pretty well made. So now he's like flexing, he's like, ah, I'm really strong because I'm Superion. And comparing that to the G1 Fireflight really shows off how far we've come in toy design. So this is, if I can get them all to even stay together, now that I broke them. So that's an arm in G1 combiner language, with this guy tucked down. Not quite the same, you know, swivel back and forward, and actually did have wrist motion just due to the design, but, you know, no elbow or anything. And okay for the time, but they did a really nice job of updating all that stuff, because, I mean, based on just one part, it seems like it's going to be a pretty posable combiner. So that's cool. Everything stays on pretty well. And yes, that keeps squeaking. The only thing I'm not crazy about with all this combined stuff is, untap that there. The wings just kind of float around on here. They can actually come off, which is kind of weird. They just peg on there and they can spin around, and then they have a hinge. But there's nothing kind of over here to lock them in place, so they sort of just flop around here. And I mean, it's tight enough and everything, but when we get to the combined stuff, which we can finally start talking about in a later video, there's sort of a lot of wings and flaps and things kind of loosely all over the guy that I'm not crazy about. It might just be me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe other people's are tighter or something, but either way, you know, it's a cool start. So now we can talk about robot mode, who is just a hop, skip, and a jump farther down the line here. Take the drop tanks off, spin these guys around, give him his waist, unflap these guys, flip the head up, click this guy, got a big ratchet in there for the shoulder, which is good because he's going to need it. Spin the head around, take the arms out of the sides, flip the hands out, down here like this. And you can see, I mean, I'm kind of manhandling him because I know where all the joints are, and I know that he's not fragile at all. Fold these guys up, spin the feet around, and we are done. So here's, just give him kind of a cool pose here. Here's Fireflight in robot mode. It's pretty sweet. I'm just gonna flex the camera a little bit here now that he's taller. Try not to bar full. I move the camera around. So here is robot mode for Fireflight. Just gonna refocus a little bit here. He is pretty excellent. I mean, he was the first guy out, and he made a really good first impression. Each limb has been $100 from TFC Toys so far. That's a lot for, you know, kind of a large deluxe size figure, but I'd almost say that he's kind of worth $100 just on his own. He's a really nice jet figure. Like I said, I mean, I love the jet mode. I think the robot mode has really good proportions. He's got the G1 style backpack, and that does make him a little back heavy. He could use kind of like just a hair more heel spur than he has. Kind of when he's standing up straight, he's a little tippier than I would like, but not bad. And you know, he's got lots of motion. He's got a lot of shoulder motion. He can do all sorts of crazy stuff. As I get a stock, he's got you know, elbows and a little bit of wrist there, and he's got squeaky hips and knees and out to the side, and he's got a waist like we talked about. He's got the toes are posable on ball joints there, so that's cool. And he can do all sorts of cool stuff. You know, he's give him all crazy dynamic action poses, like he's, you know, charging in the battle, and I like him. He's fun. The only thing here is, the only accessories he comes with are the drop tanks. And they look a lot like drop tanks, but they don't really look like anything else. You're supposed to put them on the arms here, like some kind of wrist blasters, but they don't really like look like anything. They're just, he's got pointy tanks on his arms. So it would have been cool if he came with some pistols if they all came with some pistols like the G1 figures had individual guns and stuff, but I guess they wanted to stick with the things that were related to the transformation, which I appreciate the the commitment, but I guess it would be cooler if maybe the tanks transformed or something, maybe unfolded into something more gun-like, but not the end of the world. There actually is already a guy planning on taking pre-orders for a third-party gun set for a third-party transforming combiner. He's trying to make a set of Superion pistols for the Aerialbots that all combine into a big gun for Superion, which, that's a good idea. I'll check it out when it, comes out. It's only like $20, I think, but I'll wait to see it when it's done. If it's any good, I'll probably grab it, because they could use some better guns. I mean, you could the other thing I've seen people do is they take the 2-drop tanks and they kind of make like a Halo plasma rifle style, double-barreled thing. And that, I guess it looks all right. But again, it's not, amazing. Kind of cheesy. They just, like I said, they look like drop tanks and they don't look like guns. But other than that, and other than, I guess, the squeaky hips and the way the wings kind of just float around, I do really like this guy. I mean, I don't want to sound too hard on him, because I'm really happy with, even just this guy on his own. He's, like I said, just, a really great looking figure, and he feels plenty solid. I mean, if you just wanted a cool, clean F-4 Phantom transforming figure, then, I can't think of a better one. So this is the first of 5 reviews that we'll be having for the TFC Uranos set. So this is F-4 Phantom signing off, goodbye. Just waving goodbye. Next we'll be talking about F-15 Eagle, and he's got all sorts of cool stuff. So check back for that. I'll put links to each review as I put them up, and there will be a text and photo review on the site. So go check out CollectionDX.com for a review of these guys and many other cool robot toys. Thanks.